Welcome to STC Chats. I'm Nicholas Amato, a full-time realtor on Long Island. I'm also an entrepreneur, a husband, and a father. In this podcast, we're going to be chatting with top professionals, influencers, and entrepreneurs to uncover what true success is. The journey, the mindset, and living life on your terms. So whether you are seeking your own version of success or looking for motivation and inspiration, join the conversation. Thanks for joining the conversation here at STC Chats. I'm really excited about today's episode because it's the first one I'm officially recording with a guest. Though depending on when you're listening, it might not be the first one released. Today's guest of honor is Joshua Sommer, one of my lifelong closest friends, a Long Island resident, dedicated husband, devoted father of two adorable kids, and co-owner of Aldo's Coffee Company in Greenport. Josh and I talk almost every day about everything, but today I want to dive into his journey as a business owner, what it's like to acquire and run an existing business, and how he balances entrepreneurship with family life. This conversation will be as raw and real as it gets, especially since this is my first guest recording. So let's jump right in. What do you think?
No,
Pretty
thank
good,
you.
right?
That was an amazing introduction. I appreciate it. You are also my best friend. Thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this.
I'm excited to do this. Very excited. All right, so I wanted to start the conversation. You telling a little bit about, I guess, what your occupation was before you started. Like, what comes first to mind when you think of like
Totally.
way
To-
before you purchased it or and everything like that.
Totally. So inherently, I've always been into real estate, right? Like after college, I did an internship and realized that marketing wasn't a big enough sell for me. So I figured out what was the biggest thing I could sell to make the most money, and that was real estate. Little did I know, as a broker, you eat what you kill, and it's big and grand as it sounds, never fully works out the way in the beginning. But, hard work and dedication, you get there. So from my first job, I was at industrial real estate broker for Colliers International, Long Island. It was a funny time, 2007, right when everything crashed, the real estate market. So for me, it was probably the best time to start because those people that had all the deals and all like everything that you could never sit in front of now had all the time, and they wanted to train younger guys to do the legwork for them. Like they finally had the time. So for me, that was a great time to learn. So I did that for a few years, but my last year I sold the largest industrial building in Long Island. I did the largest industrial sale. But being a broker wasn't giving me the actual knowledge I needed to see if one day I want to be a building owner, a business owner, right? Like it was just transactional for me. So I said, all right, what's next? So I don't know if you've ever heard of Kimco. Kimco Realty Corporation is the largest shopping center owner in North America. Some consider Milton Cooper the founder of REITs. So I left uh, Colliers to go to Kimco as a leasing guy for the Northeast region, which was amazing because I sat with Milton Cooper's grandson on my team. So my role was to do leasing from basically Pennsylvania to New Hampshire. So a long way to go. They would drop me in to fix situations. Towards the end of my time at Pro Health, they put me on an office building and a shopping center that they acquired in Wilton, Connecticut, and I basically filled out the entire office building and then released every single thing that we need to in the shopping center. But at the same time, we lost a property manager and a construction guy, right? So I said I wanted to learn construction. I wanted to learn property management. But as a big corporation, sometimes the only job that you're hired for is the only job that you could do, right? I was very good at what I did. I learned more. I considered Kimco my um, grad school where I learned more about how big corporations run. So when I wasn't able to do more, I actually worked for Milton Cooper's son at Pro Health. Pro Health, if you guys are familiar with that, it's a Long Island-based healthcare practice where they acquire doctors' offices. They become the business sector, so the doctors can be doctors again. So when I joined, there were 250 locations, about 2,500 employees. Never had a real estate person at all. So now my job was to now manage all of the leases, all of the locations, source new locations, including 20 urgent cares, build about 250,000 square feet of new medical space, and then, do it all by myself, manage the facilities, a team of 30 people, all by myself. And at the same time, we were being acquired by United Health Group. So then I had to take everything off of corporate leases to make every single one sole purpose entities so that this way they can't pierce the corporate veil so we could do a smooth transaction. So from there, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, I'm talking to your listeners, not to you, because
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
been here before.
yeah.
There's a little company called WeWork. So I left Pro Health to work for WeWork. I was employee 270 something, very early on days. Um, and my job started off, there were four real estate people, and all of us were supposed to do the same exact thing. You're supposed to source, negotiate, close, and then kind of run, right? It's a lot to do when you're trying to expand as the fastest growing tenant in the world. So what I said is right, I understand a lot more about how the buildings work and the envelope and contract negotiation because I worked for as a tenant, as a landlord, as a broker, right? So I had all these tools, unlike just the other people who were just brokers, right? I had a little bit more. So I said, I'll be the closer, right? You guys go out, find the deals. I'll then go to every new market globally, close the first four deals, and then train all the teams behind me. So for a few years, me and my wife, Laura, who I'm an amazing husband to, as you said,
Devoted.
devoted is what you said. We lived all over the world. We were in China for a little bit, London, Europe, you name it. And it was amazing. They wanted us to move to China. And this was just when we got married. And I said, you know what? It's been fun. It's been great. So in June 2019, we left Europe and came back to America, kind of at a point where it was like, what are we going to do next? Right. Because I'm out of a job, but I had a decent kind of cushion. And I realized that I myself am a terrible employee, but I'm a really good worker. That's the truth of it. So for a bunch of years, what I tried to do, I worked for the old head of real estate, like trying to do deals. And I realized that deals for people who have a lot of money, they don't like small deals, right? They're crumbs. Their crumbs are full course meals for every person in my family, every one of my family's family, all of it. So I said, let's try to do this on my own, right? I met up with my partner now, Torah. I've actually bought a company from him. I bought a title insurance agency. Remember that?
Yeah.
So I bought a title insurance agent, but we just hit it off. We're like, why don't we raise money and stop dealing with our money guys and try to do it ourselves? And wasn't easy. We did it for a lot of years to the point where I actually went and got a job that I hated. And then I formed Peconic Cove Capital, which, again, things happen with partners, but right now Peconic Cove Capital is still around. And with that, we raised, in last year we raised, or what was it, 2 years ago, $5 million we deployed to buy a piece of real estate in, what is that, Hampton Bays? Who's my broker, by the way?
Hey,
On that one.
right here. Right
Oh,
here.
there we go. And then Aldo's Coffee, which also we bought the real estate. So with everything that I've learned in my past, I thought that now it was time to try to, do something for myself. And that's where we're at.
So some of these questions, I might know, but I'm not all of them, right? So my question to you is so were you looking to acquire a business and then you discovered Aldo's, or did you discover Aldo's and then, wanted to purchase it?
So I never heard of Aldo's before it was offered to me.
Okay.
A lot of people have, and granted, it's just because I wasn't in Greenport that often, and I didn't drink that much coffee. Honestly, that's the truth of
Right.
it. Now, I literally drink it before bed. I drink it to brush my teeth. I literally don't stop drinking coffee. That's how
Right.
much energy you see I have right now.
Likewise, now that you
So
have Aldo's.
yeah. So what I've learned through all of this, and I learned this at Pro Health more than anything. It's the real estate itself is a vehicle to run your business. I call that operational real estate, right? The real estate can be amortized by a business. So if you were going to an investor, right? Hey, I got this building, we could invest, whatever, but also have a business. So your 5 cap is now untapped, right? Because the potential of the business can be so much greater.
Right.
And on top of that, you could then leverage the business to open up future locations. So you get an easier investment by saying, hey, you invest one time in this brand going forward, you never have to invest again, right?
Right.
It's a great value proposition. But what you get to do is when you own the real estate and own the business, you have your cushion because you have the real estate, but then there's nobody that could tell you how to run your business within.
Right.
So when me and my partners came up with this idea to do this operational real estate thing, because we could offer it to investors and it'd be very, anybody would say yes to that, right? If they had enough money to spare. So we then reached out. We had a lot of different, relationships. I've leased a lot of square feet. I've done a lot of transactions. So between our networks, we said to every broker that we knew on Long Island, basically from Queens to Montauk and Norfolk, right? Basically the entire of Long Island. If you can find a business that has an amazing brand recognition with a legacy, but no succession plan that comes with real estate, let us know. So we put that feeler out, and the next day we got a phone call from the broker who has Aldo's basically, and he said, "We're listing this property tomorrow. It's 1 million less than we listed it last year. Are you guys interested?" And we said, "We'll take it." Like literally, don't list it, we'll take it.
So I have a so when you were asking brokers, like was it real estate brokers or was it business brokers?
It was both because the thing is, we wanted a building, right? So I had to speak to both. It wasn't possible just to speak to one because
Right.
some might know some stuff and some might know other stuff. Um, for the most part, the way it started is we spoke to real estate brokers, and then we used online platforms to find it. But then we realized like some stuff other people have and other people don't. So we had to kind of do a bunch of all, and that's how we ended up with Aldo's.
How long were you looking?
For Aldo's, uh,
Well, yeah, well, for a business in general to acquire.
so it's funny, right? We were looking to start businesses. There were so many things that we were looking to do. When
Right.
we decided to say we're doing this, we made that phone call, and it was almost a day later that we got a phone call back. So actually looking for this opportunity, it came pretty quickly from when we made the decision. Um,
Right.
and then obviously we didn't close the next day. It took a little time throughout negotiations. I think this is one of those situations. It was right time, right place.
Right. So how drawn were you to like when you because the coffee's amazing. It's I if anyone's listening or will be listening, if you follow me on social media, I drink Aldo's. It's posted all the time. It's like closing gifts for my clients. I love it. I love it. Not just because you are a part of it, but it's just a great. I actually drink more coffee now because of it, and now I got this coffee machine, which is just the most addicting thing.
So you're saying I figured out a way to bleed my best friend dry?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. It's just what was the what was that process like? I know we can't like not to go too far into it, but what was the process like of acquiring it? Because it seems to be I talk to a lot of people too that are uh I don't know if it's our generation or a little bit younger, they're all looking to acquire an existing business. So what is that process like?
So, there's due diligence, right? The first thing is term sheet. So simple, right? Like if you know the location, you could send out a term sheet from today. They're non-binding, but it shows your level of interest, right? So with that, we were able to get to a point that it was subject to review of financials, right? Because that's the main
Right.
thing, right? Like you can get information, you can get a term sheet and you don't know what you're buying. And if you don't say you need to look under the hood before you buy it, you're kind of, I don't know what the right word is. Starts with an I, ends with a T. So, once you have that information, like I can't do that on my own, right? One thing that I know very well is what I know and what I don't know, right? And I'm happy to have other people around me who know things that I don't because otherwise you don't get anything done if you have to do everything yourself. So one of my partners was very a financial driven guy who looked at the analytics and was able to put together a nice pro forma that we were able to bring to our investors. But with that pro forma, we're able to see like where we could push, how much room we have, what we can give up through negotiations. Because if we're going to start with negotiations completely blind, right? Like essentially you're going to find stuff out. So what I like to do in any negotiation is kind of see where we're starting at and plan out where I think issues are going to be. So then I know what I could drop, what I don't need as leverage to get something I do. Right.
Right.
So the one thing with this business, which was a little different than anything else I've ever looked at, it was that this was Aldo's passion, right? This was his baby, something that he started almost 40 years ago. So it wasn't so much that he wanted to sell to anybody, he wanted to sell to somebody, right? The person that could take his business. So, like, part of the actual due diligence process was the courting, right? We had to court, we had to show him that our intention isn't to take your brand, make it my brand, throw it out the window. We're enhancing an existing brand. And that's kind of where we were. So the negotiations, I think, probably took upwards of like 6 months.
The besides the business though, you also had the building itself and the location and the culture behind it, which is
Totally.
and like how much did you factor in like potential growth after you acquired? I mean, that's probably the
Totally.
main thing, right? That's like where is it going to end up? You know,
Totally. Well, so like when you look
their
at,
ROI.
I don't know, for sure, right? Anything that you're going to look at, if you're looking at just real estate, it's what's tenant you can get in there, right?
Right.
If I was looking at a real estate for an investment, I would never buy a single tenanted building. it's like
Right.
not a great investment, right? You lose that
Right.
tenant, you lost everything.
100%.
But because there's a business within it, that's a much different thing, right? So
Right.
because it was there, when you look at where Aldo's is, it's next to the park, right? There's no
Right.
buildings that can be built next to it or no buildings that can be higher behind it, right?
Right.
You are what you are. Greenport itself is kind of in a period right now where, it's in some sort of revolution. I don't know what the right word is. Renaissance, maybe it could be. But like it's becoming a place that's more known, more destined. So like when we saw this thing, we're like, all right, great. Maybe what we could do is a couple locations on the east end, right? Two on the north, two on the south. And each time we basically multiply what we're making by the new location.
Right.
We didn't really take into consideration the online business just because the way that Aldo spoke about it was something that he just did because his customers left, right?
Right.
Snowbirds without you. So when we looked under the hood and when we actually closed, we're like, all right, we have to pivot. Originally, we wanted to do multiples of the locations. Now let's focus on the online direct to consumer. But the caveat is we need to maintain. We need to keep what people love and only enhance, not take away. So it's a little bit different than just buying a business that no one sees because it's very front facing. So like every day, I run the whole cafe. I run the whole
Right.
operation. But I also do all the customer service. That's phone calls, emails, text, in person,
Right.
you name it. It's all through me. So I have to learn every customer. I have to know who they are. I have to watch it happen. So in order to understand the market, I sat behind the register every
Right.
day for the busiest time. 7 days a week for the first 3 months we bought Aldo's.
While you bought it or while you were
No, so I was there in Greenport probably once a week up until we bought it because it was the
right.
diligence that I had to do. I had to look at stuff. I had to
Right.
understand things. But then once we acquired it, right? Like we already knew that Greenport was good. No
Right.
question. When we acquired it, though, the fastest way to learn is be at the register, right? Because that's where transactions happen. That's where complaints happen.
Right.
Where the issues are.
It's before we go into the whole that you're managing the day to day and everything, I want to stick with Aldo's. So what as far as the transition, right? Because that's kind of the business exists. There's a transition with the employees, and then you have the customers. But I've been there. It seems like the customers are pretty loyal. They have. So if you could just go into the transition on that, maybe some of your challenges and stuff like that.
No problem. So what we did is called the smooth in retail, right? In this type of thing, it's called the smooth transition, even though it's never actually smooth. What that means is that Friday night, every transaction went to Aldo's bank account. Saturday morning, it went into our bank account. So basically, what happened was, Aldo got to a point where he was able to tell the employees that new people are coming in. But, we kept him on for 5 weeks as that kind of bridge, right?
Right.
That's kind of what we did. But, we wanted to keep it under wraps that the building business was sold for a little while just because of what you're talking about, the brand loyalty.
Right.
But Greenport's very small and it was out from day one. So I'm going to tell you a very quick story, if that's possible,
Yeah.
maybe 13 seconds. Okay. So your listeners, hey, Nick's listeners, you don't know me, but I'm very friendly. I'm like one of those guys that like you're like, wow, he is really nice. Is it genuine? And it is.
Yes, it is. I
Here's the
can
thing.
vouch for that.
Every customer that comes up, and you could ask any one of our customers who comes to the register, I go, "Hi, how are you? Great to see you. What can I do for you today?" And a woman must have been in her early 90s, looked as sweet as can be, came up to the register and said, "Hi, are you one of the new owners?" And I said, "Yeah, hi, I'm Josh. Nice to meet you." She goes, "Don't up." Just like that. This is like on day two, literally. So
Hmm.
if you see this, I just got goosebumps from this story because it's like something that's stuck with me. It'll
It's
be
nerve-wracking too. Like the first 2 days, you're like, "Oh, what did I just get myself involved in?"
Yo, honestly, but it is important when you know that
Right.
Aldo had such a cult following that the first thing we could do to fail, it's different when you're buying a business. When you're buying a brand, you need to maintain the brand.
Right.
So the first thing that we could do to fail is go too fast, but change too much. There was another story too. So one of the things that we promised everybody is that we're going to keep what you love the same and we're going to enhance stuff. That's what it is. And that's what we've been doing. But we buy stuff from the same purveyors, right? We have the same, every employee stayed.
Right. Well,
Um,
yeah, I want to go into that too, but I don't want to cut you
we'll
off.
get there. But anyway, the same people who are making everything and the same people Aldo was getting stuff from are still doing it. That was my point of what I was saying. So what we did is we took pictures of everything and we sent it to our purveyors and we said, we need this, we need this, we need this. So our chocolate that we use, it's very specific on like it's 53.8 or whatever it is of dark to light chocolate, right? Belgian dark chocolate. We get, I think it's C811, whatever it is. One of our customers every morning bought hot chocolate. Every morning, hot chocolate, hot chocolate, hot chocolate. And comes to me and says after 2 weeks and said, I thought you said you were going to keep everything the same. I said, we are. Like, well, the hot chocolate isn't the same. I'm like, I don't know why. I'll look into it, but it should be exactly the same. And sure enough, we were off by 1%. Like
Wow.
it sounds like how could she choose 1%? But if you have something every day, it makes sense. So
Yeah.
what we did is we were able to swap out the existing chocolate for the right ones, and going forward, it's all the same. That customer, we then made the same thing, right? Here, I want you to try it. It's on me. Let us know what you think. She goes, it's still not the same. I'm like, she goes, Aldo didn't make it, right? So these are the things, right? They have such loyalty to Aldo. So for me to be able to get people to love us the same, right? Like Josh and Aldo and the people who own it aren't the heroes of the story, right? The customers are,
Right.
right? That's the whole thing. The customer are the people that need to be happy. You have to understand that when you run any business that's very like you drink coffee, right? When's the first cup of coffee you have?
Uh, Pretty much right when I wake up, I'll try to have a glass of water beforehand.
Okay. If you don't have your coffee, what are you?
It's like just part of my routine. I'm off. I'm just off, you know?
So so that's what
Like, and also in the middle of the day, I'll have my coffee as like a reset button too.
so
It's
the thing
more
is if we mess up, we're ruining people's day. It's literally
right.
that simple.
Yeah.
Right? So like all the efforts that we're doing, it may seem like it's so easy, but I have a knot in my stomach every day that I'm gonna fail our customers. Right? Literally every
Right.
day. And then I have a feeling every day that I may fail my investors. It's like
Right.
a lot of stress, and that's part of being an entrepreneur. But I believe, right? I believe in this. I believe in Aldo's. I believe in the customers, and I believe that there's something awesome here.
How was so we covered like the transition for the customers, the devoted customers, but as far as the employees, how was that? You know, like transition, did you lose people? Did they was there like you figured incentives to keep them on, or you just kind of took it over and let the
So,
chips fall where they lay?
so it's funny. Greenport itself is a funny. It's seasonal, right? For the most part, it's seasonal. It is
Right.
becoming more annual, but it's seasonal. So we closed in August of 2023 or 2020. Yeah, 2023. Wow, that flew. But it was during the busiest time, right? Where everybody's making the most money because there's tips, right?
Right.
We didn't necessarily give extra incentives to anybody, but we came when they wouldn't quit, right? So they were more focused on making the money before realizing who we were. Because after the summer, right, they'll quit if they don't like us, right? There was enough time for us to do that.
Right.
So there's first familiarity, what they knew, and then the unknown, what they didn't know. So we got lucky that we closed at this time because they were staying on if they liked us or not, because they wanted the money, right?
Right.
But one of the things that I did very early on is I added something simple as credit card tips at the register. So now every one of my employees who gets tips is now making 30% more.
And people do that, the tips? I freaking hate the tips.
Listen, I think that the other thing is right, like people think tips are meant to like supplement my employees, like I'm not paying enough. So I pay every one of my employees above minimum wage.
Right.
Well, right, like it to me, the employees are the business, right? Like without them, we're nothing. And
Right.
like I, in my career, and this goes back to, I'm going to tie it back in and how I treat my employees. So I've made a lot of people a lot of money. I've worked for a lot of different people, and I've learned what I liked and I learned what I don't. I now have the opportunity to lead as I wish I was led, right? Be
Right.
the boss that I wish I had. So I'm able to do that. So, like I said, I'm funny. I think I'm a decent person. So given the opportunity to do that, I think they see that. One of our employees, right? Most of our employees, English is their second language. So I got one of my employees English lessons for we're covering that, right? Another
Right.
one of my employees asked if they could take a week off to have a baby. Well, what? They're like, well, they need money. I was like, well, what about short-term disability and paid family leave? One of my employees wanted to go to school, right? I made her
Right.
manager. And I said, go back to school, no problem. We'll cover you. right? Like, there's all these opportunities that like they are they are eligible for that they just don't know because kids, I mean, my employees
Yeah.
like 20 and younger, like they don't know these things. So all I want to do is I see Aldo's as this massive opportunity for everybody who's in here right now. So like I want them to know they're valued because they are, and I want them to see the future opportunity. So like, I don't think before we were there, it was ever a future opportunity. It was all make coffee, get money, right?
Right.
So I think now that it's almost 2 years in, I think the employees have seen who I am, but also what I think and
Right.
how I operate. And I think they really enjoy it. I mean, I get probably in local, probably like 6 people who want to work for me a day.
I think it's true because I always see it like you always see if the employees are getting treated well and they're happy, the customers see that and it's just a better experience all the way around, you know? So just to wrap up, not the podcast, but to wrap up the purchasing of and the transition of Aldo's, what what is there a tip if someone's listening to this and they're looking to acquire an existing business? What is one little tip you can give them?
Operating reserve.
Okay, can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah. So find out what it costs to run your business and build a cushion, right? Because there's what you could see on paper, but then when you get through the door, everything changes, right? Like when I mean, again, I'm not going into what you're selling a home, but when you go to sell a home, like you
Right.
don't really point out all the bad things, right? You
Right.
just don't. So you're
Did
gonna
you
have,
did you factor that in?
of course.
Like before, or this is something you discovered after the
No,
fact?
no, 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 no. Of course you need operating reserves. Like
Yeah.
the one thing with my partners when I started PCC is that each one of us had huge networks, but a lot of skill and knowledge in their specific field that all tied back to real estate. Right.
Right.
That was the thing. Each one had a tie back to real estate. I've never run a business. I mean, a title company, but I mean, that's title's easy.
Right. No offense to title people.
Title's easy. It is. And I could say that because I was a title guy. But one of my partners has been in hospitality since he was 17 years old. I think he's 95 now. If
Right.
he, he's actually like in his 40s, but if he heard me say that, he'd kick me. So like he's been through this before. He maybe opened up like 50 restaurants in his career. So he knew to do this. And like when I said before, I won't know everything. I can't know
Right.
everything. You ever hear that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. But the other thing is, if you don't know and you try to do everything, you're going to screw up all the other things that you actually do know how to do.
Right.
So operating reserve is number one. And number two is due diligence, right? Like due diligence is so, so important. Like you have to make sure that like, it's not just, oh my God, I'm getting something for a good deal, right? That's all they think. I'm getting something for a good deal. I'm going to do it. It's going to change my life. But if you don't look through everything, every nook and cranny, but not only just that, like the customer experience, soup to nuts, you don't even know what you're walking into just by paying somebody something for something. So make sure you have a cushion, number one, and make sure you know what you're buying is number two,
Right.
right?
I also think that I'll give you another. I think it was Steve Jobs that quoted you can only connect the dots by looking backwards. I feel like from your experience of real estate and purchasing and all that, it made the transition to purchase like you kind of knew what you were doing, right? Because it's just another transaction at the end of the day. Or
Well, more than that, right? So what I have something called empathy, right? Where I am able to not just be nice to people, but I could understand people from very quickly from meeting them. I kind of get where they're coming from. I try to at least. I connect with people. And I do the same for business as well, especially when it's in real estate, right? Like just without a doubt, like the mechanics of how a business works. And that's why I went to Kimco, right? Because Pro Health, it was just like, I mean, not Pro Health. Colliers was just a brokerage, right? I'm not saying it
that
wasn't
was
it was a long time ago, but my point of that was is I didn't actually learn how to run business until I went to other people's businesses, right? And I could see
right,
hey, what doesn't work with your business. And then I realized very early on that any business needs to be able to function within their space, right? And that's
right.
how it is. So like I've learned through all of these things from at Kimco how a massive company works. And that's kind of what I was doing, obviously making money, but it was learning. And I try to do that every single day.
So basically, I think you were able to also purchase the business because of your experience, with real estate transactions.
Definitely. Well, closing, right? Like
Right,
I,
right, right,
but there was some stuff that came up on another transaction that if I never owned a title company, I wouldn't know what to do. Like I was doing work for title companies because I was like, this is public knowledge. You could find these things.
right.
So there's more than just the experience, right? There's you ever hear the saying, "What kills deals? Lawyers?"
Oh,
No.
we're quoting each other hardcore right
Yeah.
now.
But what kills
Let me hear that one again.
what kills deals? Lawyers?
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Well,
time. It's time, right? Time kills deals. So
there's momentum to every sale.
right. So I kept moving it forward, kept moving it forward. And because, like, you go backwards, because I was literally doing hundreds of leases for years, they're contracts.
Right,
I understood not just what the words said, but how they function to the business. Right. So all these things that I was looking at when I look at something that they want to include, I say, how does this affect the business? Right. Think about what WeWork was. Every single lease was an operating manual of how they're going to run their business.
right. That
So in
was an
order for me
experience.
no, but for sure, it was a great experience. But in order for me to be able to close a deal, I had to understand that WeWork can run their business with no issues when I'm done signing.
Right.
Right? To this day, no one signed more deals and more square footage at WeWork than me.
Wow.
So again, I've learned a lot, but like these parts, these transactions, they ultimately all affect every aspect of how you're going to move. Like the guy who Aldo, that contract determined how he was going to retire. Right? So these agreements, you could either trust in your attorneys, which a lot of attorneys are very good, right? But you
Right.
also got to remember they get paid by billable hours. So you have to take away from this at some point. You have to get into it and you have to get into the weeds.
How focused was he on the number versus passing on the culture and the business?
Culture, not so much, but it was his biggest fear. So when we bought the business, right? When it was closed, he was on for a couple of weeks. So
Right.
something that I like to do, and again, I'm going to go back to your answer, but this will answer it completely. So in order to see how a business runs, you have to know where or what how it could fail. You have to find the holes, right? So what I do is I do things to the business that will affect the daily business without telling my employees.
Right.
Like the first time I did it, Aldo never did promotions. We did an email promotion and it went gangbusters, and they've never had this many packages that had to go out the door because again,
Right.
Aldo wasn't sending out emails. They were just basically just here's your email confirmation that your order was done.
Right.
So it was, as soon as we sent out a discount, like it was wild. And the first thing said Aldo said to me is like you're going way too fast.
Yeah.
You're gonna fail the business. And of course I said totally. You're right. I need to slow down. But what I did is I found out what is the issue, right? Like where can we do better? Right? The packages themselves were being put together in the biggest table in the cafe. Like that
Right.
alone doesn't make sense, right? So like these efficiencies, you have to figure out when something's you have to break something to fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So, but when he said that you're moving, was that more
So he was saying that
fear
because
or like a fear of change, or was he just like
fear of
fear of change and
Aldo,
it was
fear
also
of
like,
40 years of his hard work, his blood, sweat, and tears. He's had heart attacks that like you name it.
right,
Like this was his
right,
baby. He was worried that he's gonna sell it and it's gonna go away.
right,
On top of that, when he sells it, even if it doesn't go away, they don't change what it was supposed to be,
right,
right? And then there's one thing, right? Once you get him comfortable that he's going to say I'm signing and I'm going to take your money, and the next thing is the customers again, who are the most important people.
right,
So it's one now that they were genuine, like they were going to trust us a little bit because Aldo sold to us, but proof is in the pudding, man. Do the work. I think we're good now.
um, so I want to jump to I want to actually specifically talk about the coffee because it is amazing. I feel like we're talking about the business, the acquisition, where you're from, but why is what's so unique about the coffee? Because and not on the biscotti is
Sick.
yeah, it's sick. It's insane. It's insane. I can't have it at my house because it's just I'm trying to lose weight here, and
Why? You
it's
look
just bad
amazing.
news.
So
It's
good.
I don't carry it in my face. I don't carry it in my face. I felt it in my body. um,
Yeah. So
like
listen, this
I
is
want
like
to talk about how like the whole process because that's like important. I really want people to hear
totally.
what's so great about it.
So important. And this also goes back to me not being an expert, right? Like I we got so lucky. Again, perfect timing. Our roaster, Ray, is unbelievable. I mean, if any of your listeners ever make it out to Greenport, just spend 5 minutes with her. We like joke and like she says, don't say this joke because everybody's gonna think I'm losing my mind. But she will forget more about coffee than anybody will ever know. But she's so passionate about it. And what sets Aldo's aside, not just the passion and the love that's been there forever, it's the freshness, right? Like we take a lot of time, like literally figuring out every single tasting note. We time stuff out. We do cupping, which most people do. Do you know what cupping is?
No.
So, in order to taste the quality of the coffee, you roast it and then you literally sip it. You cup it,
Right.
right? With
Right.
coffee ground, you get stuff all in your teeth. It's super awesome. But most places, when you go to buy coffee, let's just say in the grocery, I'm not going to say any names, but they're roasted upwards of 6 months, if not a year prior to you buying.
Right.
Our coffee is roast to order. So you place an order today, it's roasted that day, and it gets to you 2 days later, which means it's perfectly off gas. So it's the freshness of the coffee that people don't
So
usually
you're
get.
you're roasting it on site. That's what that when you first walk in, what is that machine? There's like a huge
The
machine.
roasting machine. So that's a San Franciscan 25-pound machine. So it's for small batch. We are a small batch roaster, right? Like
Right.
we are like getting to the point where we're a little bit bigger just because we're roasting so much and we're selling a lot. But ultimately, we have a 25-pound machine and we're going through about 1,500 pounds a week. So all of our coffee is bought at the highest quality, right? I actually went to our bean purveyor and I said to him, I'm like, yo, Jamie, what's up, bro? I said, can we get better coffee? He goes, I could charge you more if that'll make you feel better. Like we're
Oh, like
getting
you can't get better.
for the coffees that we're getting top of the line. One thing that's important, all the beans that we buy are organic and fair trade, right? So like organic and fair trade, you're not going to taste. That's just something that we feel is very important. But freshness, there's no other thing like that freshness. But the other point of it is like the willingness that we want to teach, right? We want you to know about the coffee. We want you to understand the coffee. But if you picked up the phone or came into the cafe or sent an email, we're going to do whatever it takes to make you feel happy, but understand why we're doing what we're doing.
So you could give someone when you walk in, because I've only gone there when you're there or during like that what's that fair called?
Maritime.
Maritime. So they can get a full, it's almost like going to a winery, like a full experience of the coffee, and then they could get the like we didn't even talk about the location of the but I mean the water views. I mean to have that is
Perfect situation, man. So we're the only, besides the post office, we're the only other business that butts against McCarran Park. So
right.
nobody's building to the left of us or whichever you're facing, and the other behind us are all government buildings. It's an amazing
It's
location.
amazing location. Amazing location. The and also when I was there, Maritime, you said the
Yeah,
the festival. I had the baker, like the baked goods, like the croissants and stuff. And then, I mean, is that made on site or is it?
everything. No, no, we bake
It's
everything out. Everything. So you're getting fresh and the highest quality of ingredients, right?
taste it,
You taste it, but I'm not scared to throw stuff away.
right?
Like this is what I'm getting. Like quality control and flavor is so important that we've also implemented a roast lock on the bottom of any bag. You see, there's a lot number. So if you have an issue, we can then go back to exactly what happened and who roasted that and figure it out.
Right.
Like, we give refunds. We send out bags to people because, like, again, back to it. You are the most important person, right? Not us. If we're screwing up your day by getting you the wrong coffee or the wrong biscotti, like that's pretty. I mean, it doesn't sound that
Yeah,
serious, right?
I never looked at the like how reliant I'm on like it puts literally the best part of my day is coffee. Like having that when the house is quiet and then Megan, my wife, wakes up and then we have she's like, oh, can you make me a cappuccino? And then we like sit there before Bradley, my son, goes to school and it's like an experience in itself.
Totally, and it should be.
It's yeah.
Should be
So
like
what's the yeah, what are
no,
you saying? No, you go.
we have these little vials of different beans, different levels of roasting, like
Right.
everything that we're trying. Like I write blogs every week to talk about differences, but again, it's to teach. Like coffee, because like most people drink it, and it's just something they drink to get the caffeine. But what you just said, it's such an experience in people's lives. So when you take the moment to say, hey, I want to experience something that I drink every day, and think about how much money you spend on coffee a year. Let's
Right.
like the other thing with coffee is it's it's not that complicated, but it's very scary. People think it is. Like these cappuccinos and all these other things. Like we want the ability for you to enjoy the same cup of coffee you have in the cafe at home. I'm not
Yeah.
going to your home, nor is Ray, Vanessa, Rosa, anybody else. So that's what we're trying to do, right? We're going to be doing an entire series on just education, right?
Right.
Because again, like how we're making a coffee, if you have one in our cafe and then you go home and try to make the same thing, it's not the same. You're gonna be like, well, this coffee sucks. And you're gonna call me. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, hey, listen, let's find out what happened. Let's get to the bottom and let's solve for it.
Yeah, you changed the game for me. Like when I think one time you sent me whole beans. I'm like, dude, what am I supposed to do with this? And you're like, wait, you don't have a grinder? So then I bought a grinder. And now I'm like, what's that machine I have? It's like a full blown.
You have the Philips semi-automatic.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I did the part of like where I used to like, break it up, grind it, pour it, but now it's just so much easier. And but once it's easy, the easier it is, the more I'm going to drink of it. My
Totally.
parents come to my house like, and at the end of the night, I know they're waiting for. I'm like, oh, do you guys want some capture? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
No,
get
my
it.
in-laws are the same exact way.
It's
Like
wild.
I see them looking
They
at me.
love, but that in that again, it's like the experience. They love it because it's so fresh and so good. Anyway, so what's like the future of Aldo's, whether long term, short term, like where like what's like the next step or like just consistent, what's the future of it
So
in your head?
talk short term, long term. What we can talk about all of
Well,
it.
let's start with short term and see where.
So we've recently gotten our liquor license. The intention is not to change Aldo.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's not to change Aldo's into a bar by any means, right? In Greenport right now, there's nowhere for a pre and post dinner espresso, right? But
Right.
also, should we not have the best espresso martinis,
Yeah.
right? So with our liquor license, we'll be doing some minor renovations to really make the bar itself. And I say the bar, I mean the barista line, so it could function more efficiently so that we could have a real two person espresso machine that two people can operate at the same time. And then a little bit of a bar area that it could be separated, it won't get in the way of the coffee. Cut open an active wall, basically a window where people could order from outside, but get to enjoy Aldo's and want to stay at Aldo's a little bit longer for the coffee, for the pastries and potential drinks. That's short term.
Right, but then I guess because when you purchased it, it sounded like you moved pretty quickly. And I know you did with online orders, so that like probably opened
So
up the floodgates too for revenue and everything too. But even
we're
just people enjoying it that were like, you know, in the
well,
winter they don't want to drive there or something for whatever reason.
so there's three businesses, right? So each
Yeah.
one has to have its own different touch points and what's new on each one, right? So the cafe itself, like every day I'm adding new stuff in there, right? Like just to test it. The one thing that I will say as a business, like I've never done this before. I've literally never owned a cafe.
Well,
I've
you
never
crushing it.
owned, thank you. I never owned a direct to consumer business before. I've never owned a wholesale business, none of these. But what I'm willing to do, and thank God my partners are, is experiment. Like we're willing to try things to see what it works. And so far we've been successful. Some things haven't worked and maybe we lost a couple $100s, but ultimately what I'm trying to do is I'm willing to spend the money for people's experience to be better. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like, everything that we think about, it could be let's make as much money as possible because
right,
money's awesome. We will, but I think in order for us to get to whatever level we're going to be doing, it's to make sure the customer is happy. Once
right.
you do that, like if someone's cup of coffee sucks from Folgers and you send an email to Folgers, what are they going to do?
Yeah, they'll send
Check
you
that.
another thing, and maybe they'll send you another one.
No, but the point is like you have a customer complaint right now. It's coming to the owner of Aldo's, and
Right,
like taking it personally, and I'm going to make sure that you feel like holy, I am never ordering from somewhere else, and that's because not only because I want your business forever, it's because you shouldn't feel like this for any business, right? I'm in business because someone wants us to be in business. That's the only reason. Think about that. It's so wild where people come to a business and say, I'm going to sell the best product better than any person in the entire world. Guess what? If your customers don't want it or don't like you, they're not buying it. Full
right.
stop. Because someone else is doing it.
This kind of ties in my next question because you're saying you're answering the complaints and everything like that. So part of this podcast, the reason why I started it was, getting to the nitty-gritty of real estate business and all that stuff. But I don't believe in like balance, but I do believe in managing the important aspects of your life, on the day to day. So how do you manage I mean, I watch you do it. I don't know how you do it, but how do you manage running the business, especially from like the, keeping the business going? It's not like you basically bought a business that was already running, so it's not like there's a little bit of lag. You just have to like kind of throw yourself out there and deal with it. How are you managing that and being, present in your kids and your wife's life? Because you're doing a great job at it.
No, I
I don't
appreciate
know
it.
if I've ever said that to you, but
Listen, it means a
yeah,
lot. And I think you're doing the same. But
thanks.
I will tell you, let's just personal. There's many of times where Laura says, "Get off your phone," right?
Right.
And that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of what I'm doing is on this thing right here. So
My wife never does that.
no,
Yeah,
no, but she's right though. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I I'm here playing with my kids, and I'm looking at a call, and a lot of that comes to if you sent an email to customer service, how long do you usually expect them to get back to you?
I mean, how soon would I like them to, and how long do they really get back to me is a world of difference. I expect it right. I would like it right away, but it's not right away.
So that's how I operate, though. You send the customer, I want to get it back to you in 10
Right.
minutes.
I
It's
think I feel like I always say this. I feel like Amazon Prime created such an urgency in our lives about like instant gratification, including like our phones. And I think it's like grown into anything we do. Like food's not coming, nothing's coming quick. Even you could do drive through, and it's not coming quicker. So
totally.
so so how
So
do
how would
you?
I balance? So
Yeah.
back to balance.
Yeah.
So I work in the cafe 3 days, right? But where I'm doing the cafe, it's making sure everything's running. I'm not working in the cafe. Like I have amazing staff that do that part,
Right.
right? I empower people to do something, right? Vanessa does all the ordering, right? She does all the scheduling. So like I trust that they're going to be doing okay. And then when there's an issue, it gets brought to me. So like you have to be able to let go in order to be able to do everything that you need to be doing. You have to make sure that someone is empowered to do their job before it gets to you. So I'm like last resort on a lot of things. Call me when there's an issue or if you need help, right?
Right.
So that's first and foremost. I also have different people around me that we've hired. Like I'm no longer doing the social media. We have a social media management company. I'm no longer doing the emails. We have a digital marketing agency or the PR, right?
Right.
There's things that I've taken away from myself because the business is now able to afford those things to help us get to the next level. So if you look at where we were when we bought the business, I was there 7 days a week for a very long time. Now I'm there 3 days a week. It is definitely quieter, but there's a lot more admin that I have to do. So I choose Wednesdays and Fridays to do that admin stuff. That's because my kids are at daycare those days.
Right.
So I try my best, right? My staff knows that I am going to do my best to be home for dinner for my kids no matter what. It's an hour and 40 away. So that's definitely difficult.
Right.
It's important to me. My kids are important to me. I'm 40 years old and I just now have a 1 and a 2 year old. That's crazy for
Yeah.
most people, but that's the truth of my life. So like I am very lucky in the sense where I don't work for somebody and I could spend the time. I'm the boss, right? Like
Yeah.
so ultimately like the only people like obviously like my family is number one. Friends are right there too. Customers and employees are right there too, right? So if there's an emergency, if I'm doing stuff, like, I'm not going to answer my phone because if my baby's crying, that's
Right.
impossible. But as soon as I get the break to do it, I'll do that. So I think it's just making the time and like being willing to do it and then talking to your partner and saying, I
Yeah.
need to do these certain things.
I
Not
think
easy.
a big part of it for both of us that like what we lucked out tremendously was our wives, right? Because
You
if
so
we
married up.
didn't yeah, like we really lucked out because for anyone that's listening that's like a young entrepreneur, make sure you marry someone that's supportive and understanding. Right? What else, what advice would you give someone that's like young and has an entrepreneur mindset?
Dude, you
Like
got to be.
how important is it to now we're getting a little deep here, but how important is it to me? I think it's one of the it's the that's the most important partnership that you invest in is who you marry, and you need like a
There a question
support.
there? Or are you just saying that?
No, I'm thinking out loud. So, you
Totally.
know,
Like I have not been a perfect partner for a long time. I mean, not a long time. Like me and Laura have been together for 20 years.
oh yeah,
Right?
that's
We
yeah,
were children. We were actually children when we started dating. So we
that's
grew
why.
up together, right? Listen, we still get into arguments, of course. If you don't argue, you're not a relationship, you're not a couple. But at the end of the day, me and Laura are partners. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you want to have a family, you make sure that they're your partner,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise, you're just like, you're going to be resentful. There's all these other things that get into it. Like when I was at WeWork and we weren't married and all those things, and I was traveling the world and like literally like with a blank check. My girlfriend needs to like, and then when we were moving to London, like I literally had to prove that we've been together for 10 years to get her a visa. And I was like, what am I doing? This girl's moving to another country for me. It's so wild. She visited me in China. Nick, you think you're going to China anytime soon?
No.
No, it's crazy. So listen, we've been together for a long time, but if you're going to be doing this and you plan to have a family there, make sure that your partner's on board,
Right.
right? Like all the decisions that you make will affect your whole family. So you want to make sure that your partner chimes in.
Yeah, it's almost like I always think this too. I always like if I'm talking to someone that's, occasionally you'll listen like ask for advice. Not that I'm like this wise old man, but I always feel like if the relationship's good and you get married, it's only going to get better. If it's bad, it's only going to get worse, you know?
Totally. Listen,
So
it's
so the balance, um it sounds like outsourcing, right? Like outsourcing, allocating, right, to your employees and stuff and having a good support system, you know?
definitely a support system, but I think ultimately it goes into planning with your partner, right? So that's right, right? There's a mentality, right? Some people want to control everything. When they control everything and you don't empower people, they're just basically working for you and like they'll do it. It doesn't work, right? They're not
Right.
going to stay long. There's no retention. If people, so it's family one, but at the business, like I encourage everybody to experiment with different drinks, different pastries. Like, why not? Who knows, right? Come up with an idea. Let's implement it.
Right.
Like, again, like it's not physical ownership, but if they own something in the business, they feel that, the failure is their failing, right?
Right.
How many times have you ever worked for somebody and they were like, I trust you completely to do this and make those
It's
decisions?
very rare. It's
Right.
very rare.
So
That's why I do my own thing now. And I
yeah,
came from a family business. As much as
totally,
it was trust, it was never the full amount.
totally. But ultimately, if it gets messed up, what's the big deal? Who cares?
Right. Right. That's the mindset to have. Right.
Right. So like I go around to all of my employees every day and I ask how they are. Like not
Yeah.
just hey, how you doing today, but like, hey, what's going on? Anything you need help with?
Yeah.
Everybody's a person. And I think, you know, when you go back to your partner with all these things that are going on, the one thing that I will say that I do very bad is sometimes I take out my stress on my partner, which isn't okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely not okay. But, you know, at the end of the day, when you're laying in bed with your partner and you make your apologies, do they get it or they don't?
Right.
Like you have to have these
Yeah.
conversations. If they don't, then it's clear that you're doing something wrong. Right? If they don't get what you're saying, you're wrong.
Right.
It's
Right. Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
So I think I could definitely do better on my
Yeah.
stress. But, if I don't stress out at all on anybody, right? Like, you do it to the people you love.
Yeah. We're gonna wrap this up real quick. I just one question and then do you deliver the pastries and the baked goods and all that stuff or no?
So we ship all of our biscotti.
Okay.
So that's right now what we do. I have, we were talking about freshness,
Yeah.
right? I make a croissant in the morning and I feed it to you an hour later, or
Right.
it's not and mail it to you and you get it in 3 days. It's just not the same.
Okay.
So the scones, I'm working on solutions to mail those out.
Do people order the biscotti by themselves and not even get the coffee? Do you ever get that? Or usually it's like a hand in
No,
hand.
no. Like biscottis outsell coffee on some days.
Listen, whoever's listening, you got to try the biscotti. It's insane. It really is. I like the plain, but people like what is it like the chocolate and vanilla one? What do you call that?
That's black and white.
The black and white. Megan, my wife loves it, but the plain is just I don't know. I feel like it's just too much sugar in the morning, but that's just me. One
Right.
more question and then we'll wrap it up. What because I want to give this to everyone, this question. For me, to escape my mind from everything, because as entrepreneurs, we're kind of like our minds are always thinking about business, no matter what we're doing. It doesn't shut off. Okay. like for me to escape and not think anything about work or anything, it's like boating. I love boating, going on the boat, and it's going in the pool with my kids. Do you have something that's like kind of just, totally, or you're able to just shut it off? Because it's hard to shut it off.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. I mean, listen, my kids are the easiest way for me to forget about everything.
Okay.
I do bedtimes, right? Like I do bath time. Like I
Okay.
do those things. There's times I think I have trouble sometimes not touching my phone at dinner times. But the thing that I'm able to shut off is it's my best friend Nick's pool, my best friend Nick's boat.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it's my family, honestly, like being with my kids. I mean, there's definitely
You
times
can,
where I
yeah.
pull
So,
away,
yeah.
but my children can stop me from anything. You could have a bad day and see your children, and then all of a sudden everything's cool.
Right. Right. It's funny. Just like little personal, but it's not like sometimes when I'm with my wife and my kids or friends or something, I feel guilty that I'm not working. So I have to work on that.
I
But
mean, it's
that's
a little
just
different though.
it.
Like as like a broker, right? It's like you do have people that work
It's just
there with
insane.
you. It's just, but it's all on your shoulders, you know? Like
Yeah.
we have very different businesses. I mean, not to say that I'm constantly not thinking about this. Like
Right, right,
I was at the gym today doing Instagram posts and listening to a podcast about marketing, and you know what I mean?
right.
I'm doing all these other things while doing these things, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I hear you. This was great. I think it's a pretty good, awesome podcast we're doing here, right? We
Yeah.
covered a lot. I mean, it's how long we've been talking for an hour. So, let's wrap this up. Where can they contact you? Location. I'm going to give all that information on the bottom too, but you give a social media handle, you know, where can they buy the coffee?
So aldoscoffee.com. My email is josh@aldoscoffee.com. And our Instagram is Aldo's Coffee Company on Instagram. Um, but all that, it would be amazing if you guys could come visit us out in Greenport. It's a really spectacular place. The village is amazing. And what we're trying to do at Aldo's is just build a community, right? I like to say I own the house, but it's everybody's home.
Right. Nice. Nice. I like that one. Boom. Drop the mic. All right, man. Listen, I love you. Uh, so
Yeah, we should do
I,
this more.
I feel like we should. I feel like we should. Maybe we'll do it. I'm going to do a couple more podcasts, a couple episodes. I'm not sure if this is going to be the first one I release. I got to see how the other ones go. Uh, but I'm excited to see this thing.
My screen linty, or is that your sweater?
Oh, thanks. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I was just waiting. I was debating on bringing. I literally was like, if I say this, I know he's going to bring it up. Anyway, all right, man. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming on and being the first person. I really you're
Anything.
crushing it in life. The people that I have on these episodes, it's really going to be about business, real life, success, what it means to them. What would you say success means to you?
My family and my friends all being happy and healthy. That's it.
Well said. I'll end it on that note.
Love you, Nikki.
Love you. Nobody call me Nikki. Nobody call me Nikki.
Oh, love you, Nick.
Everyone's gonna call me Nikki now.
Sorry.
I love you too, man. All right. Bye. That's a wrap. I hope you like this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow so you don't miss any of the other episodes coming up. You don't want to miss it. Until then, I'll see you next time.